When was the first time that you got embarrassed? Because I think this is another big one. Embarrassment, and how that can impact us as people, especially if that embarrassment comes from when you were young. We know that from the ages of being born to 7, how much this impacts our character and how much we take on and can be installed in us in the sense of wounds and blockages in those ages. We're wide open at that age, right? So embarrassment and fears and things like this can really be installed, or character traits, things like fear and other blockages can be installed in these ages without us realising, and that can then go on and have a huge impact on our character and our approach and our outlook and everything else, how we treat ourselves, how we treat others, and what we stop ourselves doing and everything else. Now, of course, maybe when I asked that question, when was the first time you got embarrassed, maybe it wasn't between the ages of 0 and 7, but it's still good to reflect on embarrassment. You know, being seen and being misunderstood, or coming across in a way that maybe you didn't mean, or people laughed at you, right? And this can be a really uncomfortable feeling, one that makes us never want to have to experience that again. Although unrealistic, right? It's bound to happen, and it can be quite a funny thing that we can learn to be the laughter of, be the butt of a joke. You know what I mean? And that's okay, but depending on what that embarrassment is or that situation was and how you felt, how uncomfortable it was, can make you lean into that comedy and laughter. But it also can really stop you wanting to put yourself out there to be in that position again. Okay, and I think embarrassment's a big one for this. You know, it's probably why we also get a lot of people get stuck on public speaking and stepping out to look like a fool, actually dreaming big, and running the risk of looking a bit like a fool through embarrassment of what people would think, through that judgment, through how people are going to view us. You know, I'm a true believer in that you've got to take those risks and step out and put your heart and soul into something, despite the fact that you might not achieve what you set out to achieve, or the fact that you might begin to look like a little bit of a fool. But that's okay. It's for you to know that you're walking the path, your desired path, and exploring, and knowing that you're worth exploring the things that you want to explore. But embarrassment and the fear of being embarrassed again can be at the heart of these blocks that stop us from wanting to look like a fool, or wanting us to step out and put ourselves on the line, you know, to run that risk of people viewing us in a certain way. We don't want to be judged, right? So embarrassment is something we all experience, and as I said, sometimes it can be when we're young that we experience this and we don't quite understand it, and how that can stop us from our approach and stop us from approaching things in our life that require us to step out and to be seen, or to take risks through the fear of embarrassment and being embarrassed. I remember a story, or I remember a moment, a situation when I was young, and I reckon I was about 7 or 8. I was quite young, around 7 or 8. And I'd done something. I put on some clothes and run down. I played sport as a child, and I put a pair of my shorts over my trousers, because that was what we done when it was raining. You wanted to keep warm, and you'd still wear your shorts over your trousers. And there was a couple round, some family friends around at the time. I didn't actually really know who they were. I was too young to have met them before, but to my parents, they were family friends, right? And when they saw that I was wearing the shorts over the trousers, they laughed. Right, and I didn't understand why they were laughing, because to me it was a normal thing to do. That's what we've done in the winter months, right? When you're rolling around in the mud and it's really cold, you needed to wear the shorts so that you could show the logo, but you'd put some tracksuit bottoms on or some trousers underneath that were waterproof and warm. And I remember just being confused in that moment, thinking, what's funny? What have I done? So I thought they were laughing at me. Yeah, it's in hindsight, now I'm older, that I know exactly what they were laughing at. They're probably thinking, oh, bless him. You know what I mean? It's quite a funny thing to do. Yeah, I didn't have understanding on that humour. I was too young to understand why that was funny. So to me, I perceived that I was being judged or laughed at. And not only did I know I was being laughed at, I didn't know why. So I was even more confused and very embarrassed. Now, these little situations and moments are good to reflect on, because as I said, in hindsight, I totally understand what they were laughing at, and I also find it funny. what was funny about it. Yet when you're young, you don't have that perspective. You don't see things the way adults see things, the way we haven't gone through enough of life to have a gauge on exactly what's funny and why things might be funny, that we don't understand when we're young, right? We haven't got that perspective so much. We're going to find certain things funny and know why certain things are funny, but other things that are a little bit more grown up, we don't understand. And bless the parents or the adults, because they need to be able to laugh and socialise and joke, forgetting that the children don't always understand or know where they're coming from, right? Yeah, this is one moment that could have had an impact, you know, of that feeling like you're being misunderstood, feeling like you don't understand why people are laughing at you. And this just also goes to show that in those moments when you are embarrassed, even if you're not young and you're slightly older, sometimes you might just not see what's funny at the time or why you've been embarrassed from the other perspective, from the angle, because all you're feeling is the confusion or the daunting realization of why you're all of a sudden the butt of the joke or something like that, right? And these moments of confusion and not understanding, but not liking that feeling of being uncomfortable and like, oh, my face has gone red, and that can stop you from feeling, because through not wanting to be in that situation again, even if it's deep down, sometimes we don't realize, but through not wanting to experience that again, it can stop us approaching life in a certain way that allows us to dream big and put ourselves out there and be seen, knowing that judgment or embarrassment can come, knowing that we might look like a fool in some areas. And as I said, sometimes this is unknown, especially when we're young. These things can be installed into us. If you ask yourself, if I don't put myself out there a lot, or I have a big fear of being embarrassed, this is good to then ask yourself, when was I, where does that come from? Is it just that I was born shy, or is it an experience that I've gone through maybe when I was younger that's made me think I'm shy, or made me shy, or really installed some fear in that you might be laughed at, or you might be embarrassed, or you might be seen, you might be misunderstood, you know? Because these things can have a big impact on us, and we just think it's the way we are. I'm that way, I can't bear public speaking, or I know, I wouldn't want to put myself out there like that. And I understand it, totally understand it. It's not that we all need to be out there being the centre of attention. It's not about that, but it's about understanding, do I have these things within my character that hold me back and stop me from being who I actually want to be, or stop me from pursuing certain dreams and avenues that would require that part of me to not be so fearful of people judging or seeing me for who I am, or so fearful of falling short or being misunderstood or being embarrassed. Because these things can come from experiences, and then when we understand that, sometimes not only do we gain clarity on, but it wasn't as bad as I actually thought, or I can understand why I was embarrassed. I understand why I was the butt of the joke now in hindsight. I also can see that they weren't laughing at me so much at all. They were sort of laughing with me, or I can see why I provided them that little bit of entertainment. There was no need for me to be embarrassed all along. If that happened again, I'd handle it in a whole different way, through that understanding, through that clarity on, without having that confusion, you know. But yeah, as I asked, when was the first time that you failed or felt like you fell short? When was the first time you felt embarrassment? And how have you handled that? Has that installed things in you that hold you back? And when you think of those times and start uncovering those moments that you've had in your life where you've been embarrassed, has that stopped you? Does that stop you? And is there things in there that you can see in a different light now that maybe you couldn't back then? Can you view those situations a little bit more light-hearted and learn from them in a positive way, rather than a way that's going to hold you back and stop you from pursuing the avenues that you want to explore? Or also, when you've had embarrassment and you've been in those situations, have you got to the point where you think, I don't care anymore, I've been there many times before, I'm going to be there many times again, I don't care, it bounces off me? You can approach it that way, or have that outcome from these sort of moments of falling short and being embarrassed, where you just think, I've been there before and I'm fine, I got through it. No way is that going to hold me back from putting myself out there again and starting new projects and being who I really am, or doing the things that I really want to do, with a little bit of risk of being judged or embarrassed or falling short, misunderstood. Because it can have that impact, you know, when you go through things, and then you come out the other side realizing, no, actually I was fine all along, there was nothing ever to worry about or fear. You can get to that point where you think, right, well, nothing's stopping me now, I know I'm going to get through it. I know it's actually not as much of a big deal as I maybe made it out, or maybe it felt internally at the time. Or it can have the opposite, and you can think, I'm not going through that again. No way do I want to feel those emotions again, of being that uncomfortable, that embarrassed, or that confused to why people are laughing or judging me or misunderstanding me. You know, it really can make you go two ways, and it's good for us to reflect on this. These questions help us sort of uncover why we are the way we are, and have we took those experiences in a positive way and just made us stronger as characters, or are they still holding us back because of what's been installed through these moments of embarrassment and falling short? It's good to think about. When was the first time you were embarrassed? Peace.